There are 4 million women veterans in the United States today, and women are the fastest growing demographic in our armed services. And while all vets face issues returning from active duty, women vets face a unique set of issues not only during their service but after. 1 in 4 women are victims of sexual trauma while serving. Women vets are twice as likely to become homeless compared to non vets. The suicide rate is twice as high for women vets compared to the general population, and it's on a par with male vets. And while we see in the media issues faced by male vets upon their return from active duty, after active duty, female vets tend to become invisible. And female vets, women vets, face unique health issues that are very, very unique to them, especially infertility. So, good evening. My name is Charles Carr, and welcome to Philly Loves Poetry, a collaboration between the Moonstone Arts Center of Philadelphia and PhillyCam. The focus of our program is to give our audiences the experience of the rich culture of poetry in and around the city of Philadelphia. So I ordinarily open our show by reading a poem, but tonight I thought it was important to share this information about what is happening with women veterans. Since tonight we have a very special focus on the poetry of women veterans in advance of our celebration of Veterans Day on Friday, November the 11th. And before I introduce our guest, I want to really thank JC Todd for making this program possible. I think if anybody's been watching Philly Loves Poetry, you know that JC was a guest of mine a few months ago, and we discussed her remarkable book of poems, Beyond Repair. So our first guest is Zina Bethea Dawson. Zina served as a combat medic. She spent the majority of her life caring for others, fellow service members while on active duty, and family upon separation from duty. From early as she can recall, creativity was interwoven in Zina's life journey. Every form of textile artistry piques her interest to the point of formal training and execution. Whether it's a quilt, hand-tooled leather accessory, or a custom piece of jewelry, seeing a smile is the elixir that energizes Zina's passions. Give her a needle and thread, magic will happen. Joy is a mission for Zina as she uses humor in her written work with women veterans empowered and thriving, where experiential expression is the medium of camaraderie and healing. So welcome, Zina. Next, we have Jenny Pacanowski. Jenny is the founder and director of Women Veterans Empowered and Thriving, a reintegration program that uses writing and performance to empower veterans to thrive in their daily lives. Jenny is also the program director of Poetic Theater Productions, NYC Veteran Voices, and associate director of Lucid Bodies Impact Theater. Jenny believes that partnerships, collaborations, and empowerment through community and ritual storytelling are the key to reintegration for veterans and their families. Jenny travels all over the country performing, speaking, giving workshops, and inviting people to empower themselves from within their own life experiences. And last but not least, as I mentioned before, is JC Todd. JC Todd was a Blue Star mother between the years of 2002 to 2012, when 3 of her family members were deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan, and she began to write her book of poems, Beyond Repair, which was published in 2021, a selection for the Able Muse Press Book Award. JC's other poetry collections include The Damages of Mourning, which was published by Moonstone Press in 2018. She was a finalist for the 2019 Eric Hoffer Award, and her final book, What Space This Body, was published by Wind Publications in 2008. JC is the winner of the 2016 Rita Dove Poetry Prize and a commended winner of the 2020 National Poetry Competition, Poetry Society of the UK. JC holds fellowships from the Pew Foundation, the Pennsylvania Council on the Arts, and the Bemis Center. Her poems and interviews have appeared in the Baltimore Review, The Night Her Embarks, One Art, the Paris Review, and many other journals. And in 2023, PDR Press will publish a collection of JC's new and selected poems in a bilingual version, English to Lithuanian. So welcome to you all. It's great to have you here. It's great to have this program finally come off. So as I mentioned in my introduction, is that JC Todd had a lot to do with the organization of this program and in the recruitment of these wonderful artists that we're going to have tonight. And so as an introduction, I wanted JC to read one of her poems from her book, Beyond Repair. So I'm going to turn it over to JC, and then after she reads her poem, she'll introduce our other guest. Welcome, JC.
Hello, everyone. Hello. I'm going to read a poem about a sapper. A sapper is a military person who disarms explosives. It's a dangerous and demanding job. This sapper is a woman, and I'm imagining her on a street corner in Philadelphia. Disarm. Cluster bombs, landmines, untripped IEDs and EFPs. This vets disarm them all, but can't dispose of the lone live shell in a chamber of the Ruger 38, tucked into a sock in her backpack, prepped for her to check out. Out in all weather, at 16th and Chestnut, cross-legged on cardboard, circled by her tools, sketchbook, markers, yellow number 2s, sharpened to a lethal point. She can't stop being a sapper, mapping her mind field, defusing, refusing the war. I wrote this poem and all the poems in Beyond Repair because I had 3 family members serving in Iraq and Afghanistan, and I wanted to understand something about their daily lives. But my entry into that came through Jenny Pacanowski. She didn't know me then. I first saw her in a woman's room in a theater in Philadelphia. She was a panelist speaking about veterans and life in war after the production of Silent Night in opera. And when I heard her speak, and after she spoke, saw women veterans come up to speak with her, it became clear to me they were not getting the services that the men got. And then I thought, oh, my daughter-in-law. So though I don't really know Jenny, I've read her work, I've followed her, and the way she has become a powerful and welcoming advocate in the community And I'm so delighted that she's here with us tonight to share her poems, her work, her life. Jenny Pacanowski.
Thank you, JC. I'm really grateful to be here tonight. I'm going to just jump in with a poem and then we can have a little talk. I wish someone had told me that I would have to work my entire life to find all the pieces that chipped off of me like paint over the last 20 years. My body became too unsafe for my soul to occupy, and my uterus becomes infertile ground zero, an innocent bystander who would live in constant flight or fight, eviscerating anything that entered into it. At the recruitment office, they should be required to say, hey, you can go to college or pay off your student loan debt. However, your mind, your body may not actually be well enough to ever go to college. You may become so dehumanized, your soul will become tethered to you instead of part of you. You become so disconnected from other humans. Some days you may only see enemies, targets, creating casualties instead of families, and death. Oh, death will latch onto you like a baby to a mother's milk. They call it uterine infertility. My uterus won't conceive life. My uterus doesn't feel safe. She contracts with rage and expels venom about lost love, lost self, lost time. It's the desert damages. My uterus wonders why I don't love her. She has become militarized to protect from infiltration, an armored uterus with a hyper-vigilant heart. In the fine print of your contract, it should state, it may be easier to die on duty in the throes of battle instead of navigating the civilian world. A culture your brain no longer comprehends. Your main comforts will be rage, violence, depression, sadness. You will be exposed, untested anthrax vaccines, burn pits, depleted uranium, alcohol, prescribed poison. And let's not forget the physical brutality of your own doing and by the leadership training you. They broke you down to build you back up to serve and survive, then tossed you to the side for new blood and new brains. Let the civilians deal with you now. The aging body, service members without service. We are the backbone of America that can no longer walk. My future children will be disintegrated by the stress that courses through me, by the war inflicted on me, because I believed in the promise of a better life, the American dream to serve. And I will admit it, I did once believe. Now, today, I must rebuild myself into an empowered veteran, surrounded by my tribe. I am learning to listen to you, my body, my uterus, the holder of life. I want to promise you it's safe. Let me wash away the sand, purify the venom. Let me hold you in my embrace of warmth. Let my children become the witness of our love. Let us grow with peace and thrive. Thank you. As Charles mentioned in the beginning, infertility is a huge issue for women veterans coming home, or women veterans in general, and service members. So I experienced that, and that's why I wrote that poem. I felt that it needed more advocacy. It was really hard to get services. They give it pretty freely to the male veterans and their wives, but it's more difficult for women veterans to prove that they're having issues and that it was directly connected to the war or stress or military service. So it's a challenging thing to navigate. Did you want me to just read another poem, or were we going to do questions?
I'd love you to read another poem. There is so much in your poems that reaches out to people who are really beyond the military, but we can identify with it. So go forth.
Thank you, JC. That is one of my intentions in my poetry, is to make it relatable to everyone. I don't believe in this veterans and the civilian and how we're divided and how we need to be in different places and different groups. I think, speaking for myself and other people that I've met, civilians and veterans, we all struggle. We all suffer in our own way. We don't need to compare our traumas. We can just unite under the banner that we could be there for each other for whatever we're struggling or suffering for. And we teach those kind of skills in our empowerment workshops at Women Veterans Empowered and Thriving. Thank you. And we opened our programming up to not only women veterans and women service members, but we also have groups for family members and support members of veterans, so they can have their own space to vent and rage if they need to, because that's how I use my poetry, is to rage my pain and my suffering, so I don't take it out on the people around me, that I have a channel, a release. And we teach all these skills at our empowerment workshops for all veterans, including men, women veterans, and family members. This is a newer piece, and we do free writing at our empowerment workshops, and you don't need any experience writing or anything like that to join us in the open, free, and ongoing workshops. So this is how I started my free write that day. I decided during today's free write, I will not dig around in my military sexual trauma, shortened to MST. I will say one thing. I have been listening empathetically to countless years of other women's MST experiences, and men too, which is one of the biggest secrets in the military. Rape doesn't just happen to the women. In the beginning, I did not identify as a woman veteran with MST. I didn't think what happened to me qualified. In addition, I was convinced that sexual harassment was just the way it is. I heard things like, don't join the military if you can't hang with the guys. And hanging with the guys usually meant me lowering myself to their juvenile level of sexual innuendos. And that's what she said jokes to fit in. Oh, fuck it. I have more to say. I have realized over the years I have it. Military sexual trauma. And it continues in the civilian world in this rape culture, where victim blaming is the key to oppression, conditioning, and the cultural stigma that if you stand up and say, that man touched me, that person touched me, assaulted me, raped me, abused me, didn't allow access to my money, pushed me down the stairs in a drunken rage, threw dishes at me, well, society, the military, civilian culture will state, you're fucking wrong. The victim blaming will begin in a tirade, or maybe just a slow simmer of implications. First, the questions. Do you have proof? Were you drinking? What were you wearing? What were you doing there? How do we know you are telling the truth? Do you really want to affect his career? Don't you want that promotion? Then the statements come. That doesn't happen here. This base doesn't allow those kinds of things. You don't want to be seen as that kind of soldier, Marine, woman. You are so sensitive. It didn't really happen like that. Then you, the victim, the survivor, must decide never to speak of it again or fight. Most likely lose and start again somewhere else where no one knows you. Let's review my story to give you context. I had returned from my deployment in Iraq in 2004 on December 24th. I did medical support, first responder shit for convoys, aka the front line, aka got blown up and shot at. I returned to the base in Wiesbaden, Germany. I got involved with a guy from another unit. It was a whirlwind romance. I wanted stability. And we had all the important stuff in common. Love of old movies, love of cuddling, love of traveling, hate of the army, the desire to start a new life together. And we got engaged in 2 months. The classic army story. Then he proposed we get in shape for the wedding. He said, we should drink less. I did not agree because the only thing stopping me from freaking the fuck out every day was the alcohol currently numbing my PTSD that was brewing, post-traumatic stress disorder. It was stirring, waiting to explode into my life, which showed itself in my rage and my drinking, which wasn't weird or stood out on a base that had just returned from deployment. He started doing steroids and I kept drinking. He worked out all the time. I was bored and getting angrier by the moment. He started trying to tell me what to do, how to act, and to stay away from my friends. Red flag. We had a nasty breakup. Soon after we broke up, my unit went into the field. I was out processing, so I was alone in the barracks. He didn't knock. I have no idea why I didn't lock the door. Oh, yes, because I was in the barracks with the people I deployed with, presuming safety. But they weren't there. He rushed into the room, grabbed me by the neck, and threw me on the bed, taunting me and asking me, what am I going to do? I don't think I answered. Somehow I got away off the bed, ran to the door, opened it, and screamed into the empty hallway. He slammed the door almost on my face, turned me around, smashed me against the door, and I thought, fuck this. I shoved my hand into his crotch, grabbed and twisted as hard as I could. Nothing. Not a flinch on his face, not a movement in his body. He actually leaned into my hand with this crazed look. I was helpless. I have been in karate since I was 9, kickboxing and boxing starting at 16, self-defense, grappling, more boxing, a black belt, and I could do nothing. Even my training couldn't save me. The bathroom door burst open. 2 male soldiers were in the hallway and actually had heard me scream and broke in through the shared bathroom. I collapsed into the arms of the male soldier I knew, and my ex-boyfriend ran out the door. One of the male soldiers said the scene reminded him of how his mother was beaten by her boyfriend when he was little. Now he was able to do something for me. I hope he found solace in that. The next day, my squad sergeant called me a piece of shit that would never amount to anything. My platoon sergeant threatened me that if I didn't stay out of trouble before I ETS'd, he would make me set up a bunk at the 24-hour talk, and I would be supervised until I left the Army. The Army became my enemy. I call it our bitter divorce. 7 years later, many VA prescriptions, hundreds of hours of therapy, drinking, heroin addiction, drug addiction, and addiction to death, speed, and self-destruction. Finally, I found my first veteran artist community. I dug myself out of the whole thing, the embarrassment, the disillusionment, the regret. There was no drug or drink that could solve what I had. I had to find my soul, bring it back to me. I had to convince it that my body was safe again, that it could reconnect with me. I needed my soul to know that I wanted to live. To this day, I wonder if it's my fault. Maybe I didn't use the right words. Maybe I didn't explain to my sergeants how truly dangerous my ex was, how scary it was that he almost beat me, strangled me, and raped me. Then I think, no. It wasn't my responsibility to make them understand or listen. It was their job to protect me and lead me, which they did not. As the victim, it should not be my responsibility, but it is mine as a survivor. It is ours. It is mine to challenge this rape culture of military and America. Society is not supposed to be teaching our women, our girls, to cover up and protect themselves. It's our job as a community, as a country, to teach men to respect women and prosecute the predators that when they prey on these children, these women, when they prey on the vulnerable, we need to teach them, the children, to stand up and speak when someone hurts them, abuses them, assuages them, sexually harasses them, molests them, or rapes them, and promise that we as a society will protect them, not question them about what they were doing or what proof they have. We as a society must hold the molesters, the rapists, the sexual harassers responsible for their actions. Teach our children, all children, to value their body, their minds, their souls, be kind and truthful, and most importantly, teach consent and model these behaviors as a society. My name is Jenny, and I reinforce accountability and justice. Thank you. Thank you, JC.
Thank you. You know, I feel strange applauding this because of the content, but I applaud the voicing of it. It's so important that these things be said, both within the military and outside of the military in society in general. Thank you so much, Jenny.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
I want to just note that it was creativity or connection with creatives and an artistic community that helped you to get a grip on your own survival and reintegration. It seems very important to me that what you have done within yourself, now you're externalizing through your organizations and your work and your advocacy as a poet, as a healer, a counselor, to help other veterans and their families.
Yeah, we use the language facilitators because we are like teaching artists. But it's exciting to be able to hold space for people that never had a voice. Many of the women at our organization are 65 or older, and it's the first time they've told their story that their voices were recognized. But this space is for everyone. We have veterans as young as 25, 26. And we don't require any kind of, if you have a dishonorable discharge or a bad discharge status, any era, everyone is welcome. We do not exclude anyone, because so often people were kicked out because of their post-traumatic stress, because of the way they dealt with it, whether it was drugs or drinking. And we create this community so that we can support each other, and it creates we learn how to create boundaries, to give everyone a moment to speak. To step up, to step back. So it's not like a support group where like one or two people talk for 45 minutes and then there's no room for anyone else. It's specifically designed for empowerment, for skills, for creativity, for whatever you want to do with that creativity, because that creativity and ability to speak vulnerably creates confidence and leading to empowerment and then thriving. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the link to your organization in the chat? So
Yes,
if we have viewers who are interested or want to suggest it to friends of theirs, family members, that they have access to it.
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you very much. Thinking about family members, because of course this is how I have entered this as a mom and mother-in-law and grandmother. I'd like to read a poem that sort of gives the family members' point of view. So in this short poem, the person who's speaking is a family member, and that person has observed a kind of flashback situation from a military a veteran who is in their family. And I'm particularly not genderizing the family member, although I'm a woman. This, I think, could have been the experience of any member of a veteran's family. It's called Particles. And at first, the family members describing what the veteran is going through. Particles. Now there is a clot in the heat-dried air. Her voice retreats inward. She swallows commands there was no time to give, holds them down. Like tracers, they light what she saw. The air was a coarse ground of red meat. She tries to deny it, but the memory of their shoulders clings like sand on her tongue, and certain thoughts spin like stuck wheels. Suppose the air returns to being the air, and that long day of heat cools down. Now, knowing what she knows, how can I not see blood in the cloud stream of sunset? My daughter, no pills can erase, no remorse clear the air of particles you breathed in. They circulate in you. You entered the compound behind the fire team, and all but you are gone. What is remarkable to me is that Jenny and Zina, whom we'll meet next, and hundreds and thousands of veterans go on. They keep going on. Some with support, some not with support. But they live with the war alive in them, though perhaps not always flaring up. So I'd like to introduce to you an artist and veteran, and a person who's really devoted her life to assisting and supporting others, Zina Bethea Dawson.
Okay. Go ahead, Zina.
Hey, hello, everyone. My name is Zina, and I'll just begin. Let me get positioned. I left homonyms, not a homonym, but the safety of my matriarchs, to embark on a journey that changed the journey I had planned. Like to hear it? Here it goes. I discovered that other hole was where babies came from at 9 years old. I was hooked. I didn't know how babies got in there, but it did start a query. By 7th grade, I'm a Catholic schoolgirl, I had a path planned. Nurse assistant, work my way. College, 2 years, RN, work my way. MD, work my way. OB, work my way. GYN, residency. I would have been all I wanted to be. 16, In high school, I started. I volunteered at Planned Parenthood as a teen peer instructor. For me, it was the best job I never got paid for. I taught young girls and women about that hole. Equipped with my acrylic vagina and ovaries and cute posters of the cycle of life, I assisted in exams and solidified my goals. Women's health. Now, being a Catholic schoolgirl and a member of Bougie Baptist, sex wasn't discussed. Women's health was not a topic. Why was that hole such a big mystery, secret? Now, while pursuing my planned path, I hit all my goals until college. Drama at home. I can't keep this up. I drop out. Okay, pivot. I'll join the army. Uncle Sam can pay for med school. Combat medic. I got this. Back on track. Oh, the spin. Get there and boom. 7th Infantry, integrated barracks. Ratio of men to women, 17-3. All the field duty a prissy diva like me could never imagine. No college, no med school. I allowed Uncle Sam to take away my dreams, my goals, my planned future. So I come home on that final plane ride. In denial, I rejoined the real world to pretend it never happened. Fast forward 30 years. My sister-in-law, a veteran, that I wanted a divorce from my brother, and an open enrollment sign in front of a VA clinic changed everything. See, I am a veteran, damn it. And world, you are stuck with me like peanut butter to the roof of your mouth. Hear my mouth. My name is Zina, and I reinforce new dreams. Thank you.
Zina, thank you.
Do you have more, Zina, that you can
Oh,
share?
I have plenty.
We have time here, and
Okay.
that was remarkable, extraordinary. We would like to hear more.
Okay. I'll begin. Wet eyeballs this morning, staring at the hardest night of my life on paper. Preparing to submit a claim form to the VA, the Veterans Administration. Paper is a thing. Ink is a thing. I guess it's a release. I finished writing and the grammar check. I didn't send it last night. My separation anxiety kicked in. My self-imposed deadline had creeped upon me and passed, but I did it. Scanned it in ritual. See, the act of scanning this thing was like finish work on a quilt. The last stitch, the label, the giving of it away. Something I gave birth to. Like my children. One was ready to leave the nest. I held on as long as I could possibly do, protecting her. My stitches were guidance, strength by example. The day came and I said, go fly. I still have thread that is connected like the umbilical cord, tethered to her, so that I've never let her go as long as this cord is connected. Converted the file to PDF, attached it to email, and in one last moment, stared again as my nudity was attached to the blue arrow that symbolizes exposed to me. Bleach can't get the smell of sperm out of my panties. My skin not crawling because I had already left my body. Staring at myself, wanting to fight. I choose to live. I can survive past this moment. Short-lived, I hoped, and get back home to my baby girl. Now, a bunch of strangers will see me naked, violated, traumatized, again and again and again. They will make judgment without ever meeting me. I closed my eyes and gently tapped send. I didn't cry, just damp eyeballs and shiny eyelashes. The relationship to what I sent this morning was the same, except a bunch of strangers will read my secret baby. I fed it with anger, hate, pain, sadness, and despondency. It was ready to go a long time ago. I held on, still feeding it until my metaphorical womb burst open. Oh, I still have a cord, and now it's the noose that squeezes on my breath in resentment, turns my tears into acid, burns my face with its departure. As I gasp for air and release this piece of paper, perhaps I will begin to breathe, find healing, begin to live. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question. When you are working with your hands in your textiles, do you feel exposed the way you do, or in some similar way to the way you do when you're giving your writing out, giving your voice out?
This is an interesting question, and interestingly enough, I love to use my hands because I was with the infantry unit and I had certain clearances, everything was covert. So my physical art is almost a covert way of me transferring the negative energy and creating it into a positive positive energy, i.e., transmuting something.
Yes.
So my pain and my anger is molded, and I'm using my energy to get it out of me. And then this beautiful thing becomes created.
Yeah.
And then I release it to someone who will enjoy it. And now the pain is no more pain. It has now become beauty. And that was how I approached my visual art.
Mm-hmm. And your writing, does it serve a different purpose?
At the present time, it started off as just being the expression. This was my way of connecting with fellow battle buddies. I am a participant with the groups, with the Women Veterans Empowerment and Thriving, and I never planned for any of these works to ever be shared. Initially, this was us having our little moment together, our free writes, where we release the things that are challenging us. And there was some moment where sharing it also created a healing modality. And that's when I said, oh, I can do this. I had never stood in front of a crowd. I had never spoke publicly. However, there perhaps was that part inside of me, because I'm not afraid of people. And I always ended up being in leadership roles in my work life, but I never attributed it to an artistic venue. And now I see it artistically.
I see. Do you have another poem you could give us?
I do. I have one. I think that'll bring us all home. Let's bring us home. Yeah, let's bring it home. Six in one hand, half a dozen in another. Where am I? And where would I like to be? The conundrum followed by an enigma, wrapped in the mystery. Hall called me. Shrink one called me complex. So did all my exes. Next, oh joy, another man thinking I'm complicated. Well, I happen to love my complicated, unpredictable, inconsistent, diversified self. My query about my life then and my life now as intrusive thoughts, shrink speak, violates me over and over, brings my past into my present, attacking my breath, my heart rate. Fuck, I wish my ticker wasn't controlled by a thought. All I want is to stop the visitors in my head from yesterday. I can't have both, or can I? My heart skipping a beat at a new sewing machine, my favorite calico fabric, or Shamar Moore standing in front of me flexing his pecs. It just sends blood to my cheeks. While the thoughts of a perceived threat, like the daymare of sexual assault, my home being broken into, or someone jacking my car, stops the breath, races the heart, and sends water to my palms. What's that all about? How does wet hands help during a threat? Nothing like my M16 slipping through my fingers. Oh, how I would love to stay in the mode of joy, where my heart skips a beat and welcome the new experiences of today. My battles, who get it? Even if we don't agree on shit, let me need food or bail money. I got speed dials, no questions, and I'm the same. We sit during the sunshine and the rain. This connection is ineffable. We can stare into the abyss and know we are safe. I guess if I didn't have the intrusive racing and the jumping, I may not appreciate the joy of a smile and the calm that is all too fleeting. My vote is to end this dichotomy and stay in joy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zina, for sharing your poems with us and your wisdom and your experience. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
There we go. Hi. Well, this is like a punch in the stomach, listening to these things.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering the people that really need to hear these are listening and are feeling the same punch because it's very stark. It's very real. You know, it's really not the intersection of a lot of what people think as poetry, but it is poetry. It's powerful. It's powerful, powerful poetry. And when you're reading Zena, and I read your biography about the quilt. That's all I was thinking of these pieces as pieces of a quilt that you're threading through, and that you keep doing this in your life, and so that it's there for you and it's there for other people. This is a quilt. This is the vision of what it is to be a woman veteran, be a woman in the military. And for me, as a man, as I said when they opened the show, is that this was all hidden for me. I'm a son of a First World War veteran, right? And I'm a cousin of a whole family that served in the military and all their sons. But there was one young woman who served in Iraq and Afghanistan. And when I thought of this show, I really thought of her because I never asked these questions, of her. We don't ask these questions. We're not asked these questions. So I'm hoping this show is an entree for people to start asking the questions about, people that they see in their own workforce. I mean, I worked with a lot of women, but I don't know how many times I asked the question, "Oh, are you a vet? Have you been in the military?"
Mhm.
It's probably something that would have been a great revelation to me, not only them but even their parents that served them. I mean, their mothers as well. So this is all very powerful, and just wanted to indulge myself and indulge you. There was a poem in JC's collection. There's so many of them struck me, but there's one because I have had, in my life story, in the last 13 years of my professional life was in childcare, daycare, and funding low-income working women to be able to afford daycare. And in this poem, it's mentioned, and I was just thinking of it. And the poem's called, can I read it, JC? It's called Sweet.
Of course.
All dust and thunder, she says. The approach a ground cloud, dervishing above its length with a dash through a village, MRAPs and Humvees, gunners at the ready. Kids peppering the roadside, flatten against the wall of courtyards and homes. Commotion draws them, the din of a convoy, drivers keyed up, stopping for nothing, even when the suck of speed and weight sweeps a stick-thin boy across the windshield or under the wheels. She's still scanning the roadside for trouble in her used SUV, driving to the daycare, the strip mall, the chemical air of the dry cleaner. After the first, she says, every time you go out, sweep. I mean, that was such a powerful, powerful poem. They're all powerful. And it was so powerful tonight. Everything that I heard, it was really amazing. I guess the one question, are you publishing your work? Are they out there for other people to read? And where could people, if they are published, where could people get published copies of your work?
We haven't yet found a publisher. There hasn't been a whole lot of interest in women veterans publishing. There's only a couple of books out there as well. But you can go to our website. We have some videos. We do a lot of performances and public speaking. So we're much more into the live theater, making presentations to schools, colleges, theaters, all those really beautiful venues, so we can have real conversation with the audience as well, with that reconnection of veteran and civilian.
So I want to make a proposition here. I'm part of Moonstone. I actually been the president of Moonstone for several years. I had just were changed and went out of office, but we are a publisher, a big publisher of books of poems and anthologies. And so I'm really going to talk to Larry, who might be on this watching and listening, that what can we do to put together the things that you're writing and other members of your group into a publication. And we can get that done.
Yeah.
We can get it done at Moonstone. So hang in there with us. I think it's really the things that you're doing, not only the written work, but the activities that you're doing, we want to know about. And we want to try to, at Moonstone, as Larry has done with so many things, is to promote you and promote what you're doing. So stay tuned. Larry and I will be talking about this. Larry has done a lot of anthologies around veterans, around all kinds of public issues, etc. And this is an issue. This is an issue that needs to be addressed. And Moonstone is really ready there to work with you on this. So stay tuned for that. I have your contact information. JC is published by Moonstone. She knows that it's very authentic, the stuff that we do, and it's very great work. And your work is very, very, very remarkable. And so I really want to thank you. I want to thank JC first for making this all happen, because without this book, without reading this book and the experience of reading this book, more than once, I read this book twice and almost 3 times, and I recommend to people, buy this book. Yes, it's poetry, but there's so much more powerful stuff in this book that you need to know about and read about. And so again, I thank you very much. It's been great to meet you, through this hyperspace. I wish we could have done a live show at Fergie's. I used to be a host of a poetry series for 5 years at Fergie's, but we'll be coming back. We'll be coming back to our live series, and I want you to stay with us. And I want you to bring some of the other members of your group and introduce them to us, and so that we can hear them. I mean, in May, and I said this to JC, is a Memorial Day. And it's always the time that, of course, we dedicate to veterans. And so I want to come back and revisit that again in May. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for your work and everything that you're doing out there. And again, thank you to JC. Now, of course, I mentioned Larry Robin. Larry is the founder of Moonstone. And every year he does close to 100 different readings that probably impact and bring in close to 300 poets. A lot of them local, but even people that live outside. So I asked people, we're doing this and we need people's support. He needs people's support. So if you want to support us, you can go to moonstoneartscenter.org and make a contribution. And November the 19th is Larry's 80th birthday. So I say to people, if for no other reason, in celebration of Larry's 80th year on this earth, and all that he has done for this community, this cultural community in Philadelphia, make a contribution. Support him, support Moonstone Arts Center. So again, thank you all. Very moving program, extraordinary program, and I can't thank you enough.
Thank you for having us.
And families, please be in touch with this organization.
Yes.
You can get support. I can't tell you how much the support of veterans organizations assisted me as a mom, a family member, thinking about her soldiers and then her veterans.
It affects the veterans and then everyone that's connected to them. So we need to support each other. Thank you. Thank you, Zina.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.